read it, I was very touched by it. She represents an awful lot of wonderful things in a student who has a lot going on in her life and managed to get her degree, and not just get her degree, but do a wonderful job getting it. So Beth, come on up. You can do a much better job representing yourself than I can.
Hello. So you might have noticed that today is not exactly a typical day for Montclair State. Today is an entire day dedicated just for celebrating. But it really wouldn't matter if it wasn't for all of these painfully non-celebratory days that have come before it. And some of those days were good, and many of the nights were long. But a lot of them went uncelebrated, and a lot of them went unnoticed. After our first class, there was no applause, and there was no standing ovation for turning in a project complete and on time. And there was no parade after any of the all-nighters. But all of these things fall into a category of something that we can celebrate. Now, if you look back on these moments, much like I did, you'll see that a lot of them didn't warrant celebration, and some were embarrassing. Some of these moments were shameful. I mean, if I'm being honest, there were times when college brought out the worst in me and in all of us. We fell asleep, or we completely forgot, or we spent 3 hours writing our name instead of practicing a speech. But it's really all of these ugly moments that we're celebrating here today. Today, one moment that I'm celebrating is the embarrassment that I subjected to my family when I dropped out of college. But there was no parade when I came back to school, and I was 22 with a 2-year-old daughter. Molly is 5 now, which is probably one of the best ages she's going to be. She has absolutely no concept of time, and she has no concept of failure. So I do that for both of us. One thing that I've discovered is that you don't get to keep the time that you've lost. It's just gone. You don't keep it. But failure seems to stick around, and it stays with you. And sometimes it stays painfully close to you. So you really should celebrate it. I mean, if for no reason other than spite, you should celebrate it. Because it's a major part of the success of today that we've all failed, and failed repeatedly. And all successes, they all have these ugly failures just folded up inside of them. Maury Sendak, who's the author of Where the Wild Things Are, he gave an interview on NPR near the end of his life, and everybody should go listen to it. But at one point in particular, he's talking about aging, and he says, "It is a blessing to get old. It's a blessing to find the time to do the things, to read the books, to listen to the music." So find the time. Every day we're given time, so find the time. Reading a book is a celebration, and so is good music and a great museum exhibit. You should take some of your time and honor someone else's success and honor their failures as you should your own. We're surrounded by moments that are worthy of celebration. It can be a friendly face, it can be a creatively written caption, or it can be a young woman overcoming a fear of public speaking so her daughter will feel proud. A life is both big moments and it's small ones. And today, it's worthy of loud applause, and it's worthy of quiet appreciation. And if we consider and accumulate the time and failure that has brought us here today, we've earned both. We've earned loud applause, and we've earned quiet appreciation. We're probably going to hear a lot of applause today. So after this speech, instead of clapping like you want to, maybe just have a little quiet appreciation. Thank you.
We just can't help it.
I have to give an epilogue to that. Beth came into my office with Josh Jordan last week, and it was a particularly frenzied week, particularly frenzied day, because at the end of the day, my eyes were red, I was tired, I wanted to go home and take a nap until morning. And Josh brought her in and said, you should read this, this piece that Beth wanted to read. And so I stopped and I tried to quiet the chatter in my head, and I did read it, and then I had a conversation with Beth, and then I felt ashamed of myself for being so tired and so overworked that I couldn't stop and just pay attention to somebody who's worth paying attention to. So it was a good lesson for me, and probably a good lesson that all of us as faculty and administrators in the blur of events that happen through the course of any given week, semester, year, even decade, that those little moments that you stop and quiet the noise and pay attention to the things you should be mindful of, it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, that is why we're here, and thank God it is. And we're also here to give out awards. So John Lutrop is going to give